Our good friend Jackson Hinkle's with us, ladies and gentlemen, from The Dive with Jackson Hinkle. Recently kicked off of another platform. So the guy's really making things happen. He got kicked off Patreon recently. Hey, Jackson, how are you?
Good. How's it going?
Good. You are the founder of the independent media outlet, The Dive, and the host of The Dive with Jackson Hinkle. You've been permanently banned from YouTube for alleged Ukraine misinformation, but his Twitter account recently surpassed 2.6 million followers. Look at that. And now he can add his resume that he's been publicly smeared in the newspaper of record, the New York Times. That's what we're here to talk about today. But before we get to that, I wanted to play this. You went back on the Turtle in the Hair show. And I think maybe they saw our coverage of it because but here they couldn't help but slobber over you. Watch this.
You've changed your image a bit, haven't you?
Have you?
You beefed up or something. You look different.
Have you been working out?
You've got a beard. Something's happened. You filled out a bit.
You guys seem to be very obsessed with my looks.
We are.
Well, isn't everybody?
You're gorgeous.
And I'd be quite happy about that, you know.
You're gorgeous. He just said it. He couldn't keep it in. You're gorgeous. You've been working out. You're filled out. Oh my God, you're gorgeous. Everybody's.
They're like, yeah, we're gonna have you on to discuss the genocide. Be on at 5 p.m. and then I come on and it's that. I'm like, what is this?
They couldn't believe. Well, I think that you wore a suit coat the last time you went on. This time, you just wore on a regular shirt. You're just showing off the pecs and the big shoulders. And it's so funny. I want to listen to it again.
You've changed your image a bit, haven't you?
Have you?
You beefed up or something. You look different.
Have you been working out?
You've got a beard. Something's happened. You filled out a bit.
Oh, someone's going to flavor
You guys
camp.
seem to be very obsessed with my looks.
We are.
Well, isn't everybody?
Gorgeous.
And I'd be quite happy about that, you know. As probably the two best-looking guys
we are a bit vain
on TV, we thought we'd just give you a compliment, didn't we?
Yeah.
Now, what is this show called again? The Walrus and the Carpenter?
I didn't even know what to say. It was so off-putting. I didn't even know what to say.
They saw us making jokes from last time. I would bet anything.
I bet you that's what it was.
And that's why they're playing that up, because we went pretty ham on them.
Yeah.
Trying to ditty you into a special Usher camp.
So anyway, they've invited me on the show. I haven't. I declined.
You don't want to be on the Squid and the Whale?
I don't know what would that be. What would I get anything out of that? I don't know. I don't think so. So maybe it would be fun.
Well, now that it's obviously a genocide, they've probably adjusted their tack a bit. You know, they run it to a court. Israel goes to. They have a lawyer.
They have a lawyer.
What court would that be?
Just like you remember when George Bush had a lawyer say it was okay to torture.
Antonio Gonzalez.
You find a lawyer that says it's okay.
Yeah, Sachi did a sketch with it where
it was a guy named Lou or Wu or something. They also got besides.
I thought it was Antonio Gonzalez.
He was the
Alberto Gonzalez, not Antonio.
He was the attorney general, I think, at the time. But they got this other guy, Wu or Lou. He was Asian, and they got him. He was their lawyer that okayed it. But anyway, the reason why you're on, Jackson, is because you made it, baby. The New York Times. First of all, who cares what they say about you when that's the picture they use?
No kidding.
That is unbelievable. They use that. I mean, continuing the theme from the video we just showed. You're gorgeous. Isn't it? He's gorgeous. Yeah. I mean, that's the picture they use. You look up. Jesus, I don't care what. Remember when they smeared me as the head of the dirtbag left? I was like, I don't care what they say. Look how good I look.
The headshot didn't look like a dirtbag.
No.
Wait, look at this stupid headline.
So they say riding rage over Israel to online prominence. Is that bad? I can't tell from the headline.
Yeah, so? What is? I don't understand the.
And they say Jackson Hinkle's incendiary. First of all, Jackson Hinkle's incendiary commentary has generated over 2 million new followers on Twitter since October, a surge that some researchers say is aided by inauthentic accounts. By the way, none of those things are newsworthy. And by the way, if Jackson Hinkle looked like Michael Rappaport, this article wouldn't even exist.
No, somebody got boned up over there.
Yeah, the headline should be 2 writers at the New York Times want to fuck Jackson Hinkle. Subheading, that bad boy. gorgeous.
You-
He's
look,
filled out a little,
If you
isn't
just replace how we want to fuck Jackson with that picture, it works obviously better.
he? Works better.
Incendiary.
Incendiary. I'd like said. Does that mean that he's really hot? More than hot. He's flaming.
They're calling him gay.
Wait a minute. Are they calling him gay? Let's see. So this was this was the New York Times idea of a smear piece on Jackson Hinkle. That is not the picture I would use for a smear piece.
Is it a smear piece? I can't tell from.
I thought I looked kind of evil, and the other pictures I'm smiling. They didn't choose I look kind of evil in that picture. I think it could have been worse.
That's how they like you. They
Nope.
like you to scowl.
Well, here's some of the stuff they say. Jackson Hinkle has cultivated an online persona so incendiary, flaming,
like a plate of fajitas coming through.
that he has been kicked off YouTube, Twitch, and Instagram. That's like a badge of honor.
Too hot for YouTube.
Too hot for YouTube. He rages on. That's what Anna Kasparian tried to do when she was trying to smear me on Twitter.
What?
That AOC shouldn't have to listen to my rage-filled rants. Well, she doesn't.
She
doesn't
I hope
have
she's
to
listening
listen
to
to
Anna's now that Anna discovered crime is bad.
Now that Anna has discovered crime is bad,
She's discovered she doesn't like crime after all.
and men aren't women.
What if she finds out the CIA is not good?
They had. Remember when she went off? She went. Wait till she finds out the CIA is a good.
Oh, they're not even bad. They're stupid.
He rages on undaunted. He rages on undaunted, even energized. He produces a regular podcast on Rumble, a website popular with many prominent conservatives.
Ew.
Oh, ew. He writes dozens of posts a day on Twitter, where his following has surged to 2.5 million from 417,000 in the 6 months since October 7th, the day Hamas fighters mounted their assault on Israel. Oh, wow. We here at the New York Times call him the White Tupac because of his thug ways.
He's only 24, this kid.
Along the way, he has employed false or misleading. By the way, they're trying to make it look like. So look, he's putting out a lot of content like that. How is that bad? Like
All these people watch it, and we heard some of them aren't even real. I mean, we're not bots, and we're boosting him, but.
Listen to how they try to spin this as he rages he rages bad.
You think if you got kicked off of Instagram, you learned your goddamn lesson.
You'd become nicer. He writes dozens of posts a day on Twitter where it's the day Hamas. So it's like, are they trying to now say you're kind of a terrorist or something like that? I don't know what they're saying. Here's the next thing. Along the way, he has employed false or misleading content. They never say what it is, by the way.
Yeah, what was it?
They never say what it is. He's promoted manipulated images and made comments that watchdog organizations have denounced as anti-Semitic.
Fuck you.
You mean
watchdog? Fuck you.
You mean like the Anti-Defamation League, which turns out the Anti-Defamation League, their job is to defame other people.
Well, except Azov. They said
irony.
they're good.
Yeah.
ADL, Azov Battalion, not Nazis
Not
anymore.
Nazis.
That reliable watchdog group.
He calls himself an American patriot. Do you call yourself? He does call himself. And he calls himself an American patriot, even as he praises American adversaries, including Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, and Ayatollah Khomeini. We both slid off our chair, and one of us is a dude. So I just want to show. So when they point the finger again, whenever you point the finger, you have three fingers pointing back at you, and that's the New York Times saying that that Jackson Hinkle has employed false or misleading content. Here's the front page of the New York Times. Front page. Screams without words how Hamas weaponized sexual violence on October 7th. Completely made up. So made up, we even debunked it here at this show. We don't need evidence. That's a direct quote from one of the people who wrote that article, that fake article about rape.
Anat Schwartz, who it turned out was not telling the truth.
So Breaking. Gal Abdulla's sister denies rape claims in New York Times article and says New York Times manipulated the family. So the exact thing that they're accusing Jackson of, they put on their front page.
Right.
Front page.
People still believe it too, to this day.
And people still believe that front page story.
And that's what I told them. Of course, they're never going to print that. But, you know, the dupe that was interviewing me, we talked for like an hour. And he's like, so what do you think about these posts? You said this photo was from Gaza and it's actually from Syria. I'm like, look, you know, accidents happen. There's no shortage of dead bodies in Gaza that can be posted online right now. But what about you guys lying about 40 beheaded babies, lying about sexual violence, lying about you know, decades worth of history going back to 1948.
WMDs? How about
they never post that.
And what did he say to that? Did he respond?
Oh, you know, I'm just concerned about, you know, you're very prominent online. You've gained all these new followers. You know,
he's concerned.
Yeah.
So fuck. Is it that with the guy? What's his name? Stephen something.
Stephen Lee Myers.
So we're going to show him.
Yeah.
So the Screams Without Words New York Times article was co-authored by Anat Schwartz about mass rape that has been systematically debunked by many. How did Anat, who has no journalism experience, and her 24-year-old co-author Adam Sella, nephew by marriage, come to lead a front-page investigation on the New York Times? That seems like a much bigger scandal than anything some rando guy on Twitter could ever pull off. But nope. By the way, just from today, New York Times probe ends, leaks, and Gaza rebellion unveiled. You know what they did? The New York Times concluded its internal investigation into a leak of a memo, but that instructed journalists to avoid using terms like genocide or ethnic cleansing and occupied territory in their coverage of Gaza's war without identifying. And they didn't identify the source of the leak. So that was a memo given to their reporters. Don't say genocide. Don't say ethnic cleansing. Don't say occupied territory. But the guy on Twitter is the guy spreading misinformation. The guy who has a bias. The guy who is a raging undaunted. I just want to point out that the biggest liars in the world are the government. The second is the corporate media. That's like the New York Times, the Washington Post, MSNBC, CNN, Fox News. Those are the biggest liars in the world. But they always want to focus on some rando guys because he got popular. Jackson got popular, and we're competition for these people. They went on to say, they're quoting you. Drop a like if you stand with Iran in the face of Israeli terrorism, Jackson wrote last week on Twitter after an Israeli airstrike in Syria killed several Iranian military officials. I'm
the bad guy for saying I stand against terrorism, and then they casually just throw in, because they killed these innocent people in the consulate.
This is again. This is the best thing. You were happy when you saw this, right?
It's a badge of honor.
It certainly is, because they're so bad. They're not even good at smearing you. The people who wrote this, I'll show you their name. What's his name? Stephen what?
Stephen Lee Myers.
Stephen Lee Myers.
And Kelly, or what's her name?
And he needed
Tiffany
help.
Hasu.
He needed help from a lady.
Yeah, she's a misinformation reporter.
Yes,
you know that?
yeah.
Which sounds like she reports misinformation.
That's what it sounds like. A day later, he addressed the Houthi leadership in Yemen over video, praising the group for its attacks on shipping in the Red Sea. Yeah, I would applaud that too. These are all things I think people agree with.
No, a bunch of people think it's crazy that you'll be praising the Houthis.
So I already showed this. Okay. It has all made Mr. Hinkle an online celebrity. At age 24, a Gen Z symbol of the modern internet, a place where authenticity is no longer a necessity. You know where that need for no authenticity started? The New York Times. Front page, two people who aren't even journalists. You get them to write complete fantasy on your front page.
But that's like the thing of, I thought you liked free speech. We're telling a lie about you. You don't like it. Well, I thought you like it. That's like a real Don Lemon move.
So here, let me read this again. A Gen Z symbol of the modern internet, a place where authenticity is no longer a necessity, as if the New York Times is. Every lie that's ever been printed in the world about wars starts at the New York Times. And
wouldn't they be doing better if it was like that?
Yes. And outrage offers attention and even some financial reward. You mean like this article you're doing on him to generate outrage at a guy who became popular on social media so you guys can sell newspapers? That's exactly what they're doing. I'm sorry. Did they give these newspapers away that day for free?
No, they in this article attacked me for having my supporters donate to my show on Twitter subscriptions. And I thought it was ironic because to actually read this article, there was a paywall and I had to pay like $3 to read the article.
Oh, I was trying to look at the article, and I wasn't going to pay. So I just said, fuck it, I don't need to know. I already know Jackson's got great hair. I don't need to hear a fucking article about it.
They go on to say his sudden rise may stem from more than good luck. No, it comes because he's good on social media. He knows how to. 2 Israeli research companies that I'm sure are credible and not biased at all.
I already now don't believe anything bad about you.
2 Israeli research companies that specialize in online threats and that have focused on what they consider disinformation related to the war in Gaza. You mean like not calling it a genocide or ethnic cleansing and never referring to it as occupied terror? Oh, no, that's what the New York Times does. Said that they had identified coordinated and possibly state-sponsored networks of bots. The fact that they would print that. They have no proof. It's just a possibility.
The hedging language all the way through.
All the way through
They didn't even go, like, just cut to, like, 2 research companies. Don't say they're Israeli. That takes away from the validity of what you're saying already.
Yeah.
Then what they consider disinformation? Consider my balls in your mouth.
I didn't think that Jackson was this accurate until this article, actually.
Yeah, I thought you were a piece of shit until this. Now I know you're on the level.
Now he's really doing some good. He's doing some good work. If they have to say he's possibly state-sponsored networks of bots or inauthentic accounts that were amplifying Mr. Hinkle's provocative brew of political views. China, Russia, and other foreign actors are known to use such tactics to achieve their. Look at the slimy innuendo. This makes the New York Times look. Anybody reading this who isn't a mental defective was going to be drawn.
There's no such thing as that.
There's no such thing. You're right.
I don't know if we should even be reading it now, but I'm not. I'm not
I like how they put so Russia and China and other foreign actors have included efforts to influence this fall's presidential election. You mean not like Israel and AIPAC? They don't do that. Really?
MSNBC warned me that AIPAC was going too far with that, by the way. Here's what's funny. All your anger you wrote about Israel, MSNBC's riding it now.
Now
and Nancy Pelosi, right? Because they bombed her friend at the...
That's right.
What was it? The cook kitchen?
The kitchen.
The World Kitchen?
Yeah.
They're all saying the thing you're saying. Oh, how about you that Russia's doing fine? You got kicked off for saying. What'd you get kicked off?
The crazy thing was on the front page of the New York Times this day. It was the day after O.J. Simpson had passed, and the #1 story wasn't even O.J. Simpson. It was that Israel was bombing a shelter, like one of the refugee camps in Gaza. And I'm like, this is crazy. This is the front page. Then you flip to page 17, and they're smearing me for defending the people that are getting bombed on page 1.
I wonder who gave them the order, right? So this happened. Like Dave Weigel put me in a piece and tried to smear me over Seth Rich that I covered that story for the Washington Post, and someone ordered him to do that. So somebody ordered these 2 writers to write the story on you.
What's Hasabra? What's it called? Hasabra or their American propaganda thing? Hasbra.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody was just telling me that they hadn't been funding that for a while because they had to sew in the bag. And so that's why, because I started getting shit for going on Rogan and mention that crazy lady bringing up Dresden from Israel.
Yes.
And I got a bunch of little twats trying to pick apart things I said and cut it a certain way because they're mad
that you said that.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I just realized now what the fuck that is. They're trying to now go back, like I said on Rogan, the Israeli officials are like embarrassing immigrant parents that don't know not to use like gay slurs.
Yeah, yes.
So they've been just blathering all this psychotic nonsense. Now all these people got to scramble and make up for what mommy and daddy said that was embarrassing. And that's what I think this is. Of course you'd be popular from that after people hear these maniacs talk.
Mr. Hinkle has also benefited from changes by Twitter's owner, Elon Musk, including the cancellation of policies that once limited toxic content. Again, they don't ever show you any of his toxic content. With the addition of a premium subscription feature, he now charges certain followers $3 a month. How dare you?
$3 a month?
So to read this article, how much did you have to pay?
Bought a copy for $4.
Are you kidding?
No, it was $4 to buy a copy. New York Times.
The absolutely, it's comical how bad of a smear job this is. Jackson charges $3 a month. They charge $4 for this fucking one newspaper.
I can't believe the amount of
as they're trying to gin up outrage over people on social media. They're doing the exact thing they're claiming that Jackson Hinkle's doing. You charge $3 for what he calls extra cool stuff, including behind the scenes videos and random thoughts. I wonder how many more subscribers you got from this article. $3. I'd like to see some extra cool stuff.
Oh yeah, right.
I'd like to see some behind the scenes
People
videos.
People that hate you would pay $3. That's a better deal. That hating the New York Times, I would not pay $4 to read a nice article about myself. But people that hate your guts, they'll pay that $3.
Listen to how they use the words they use, the sleazy words. They go, Twitter allows him to pocket up to 97% of the. He pockets it? You mean he puts it in his pocket? What? He's supposed to give that money away to charity.
Wait, but up to 97%. Wait, X is not even taking the huge chunk that YouTube takes and all these other piece of shit companies take?
Right. And Mr. Hinkle has told subscribers that helps him continue exposing the deep state.
Good.
That's good. I know. Imran Ahmed, the head of the Center for Countering Digital Hate, who is a fucking fraud.
Yeah.
Don't even have to look up who he is. Anybody who is the head of a Center for Countering Digital Hate is a fucking tool of a billionaire somewhere and is pushing establishment propaganda. That's who that guy is. Do you know who that guy is, by the way, Jackson?
No.
I analog hate him. Never mind digital. I never heard of him, but in real life, I hate him.
So a research organization said Mr. Hinkle was part of a sort of new cadre of people who exploit the algorithm's insatiable desire for highly contentious content to benefit themselves economically.
The press? That's not new.
You mean like the newspaper?
Journalism?
It's called journalism.
A new cadre.
It's this whole new thing.
Insatiable desire for contentious content.
This whole new thing that Jackson has just invented.
What are you, a rapper? What is this?
In a new report, the center documented a staggering rise in followers for 10 prominent accounts on Twitter that spread anti-Semitic content since the start of the war between Israel and Hamas. Now, anti-Semitic, according to those organizations, is just telling the truth about what's happening and telling the truth about what Zionism is. That's all.
Stop being anti-Semitic, please.
Mr. Hinkle was at the top by far. Again, this is not a smear. It's sort of a sick industry. You mean the newspaper game?
Not Pornhub.
Not Pornhub.
Or OnlyFans.
No.
Where kids are filming their mother. I swear to God, that's a thing. A kid films his mom on OnlyFans. Well, he's like in his 20s. Don't make it that much better. But this is the sick industry. You just saying things.
It's not
you.
Not the people pushing pro-war lies, the people debunking them. That's the sick industry of creators on platforms who benefit from contention. Mr. Ahmed said the sort of car crash nature of how people react to hate.
I hate that Mr. Ahmed is not in a car crash right now. That's what I hate.
Mr. Hinkle, for his part, seems to relish the limelight.
What a weirdo. What the fuck am I reading? He seems to love it. Making money and saying things and becoming popular. Oh my God.
To illustrate a post about the Gaza conflict, he used a stylized cartoon of himself dressed in military gear with a rifle in front of a fireball. You want to see it? This is supposed to be a smear piece. His profile on Twitter and other platforms includes a doctored image of his bloodied face surrounded by a ring of pistols. I couldn't find that picture.
Where's the doctored? Oh, it wasn't a real picture.
No, because this is the one that's up now. It's just
that's
him.
on my on my Twitter banner. If you go to my profile, it's the photo from The Matrix with like.
It was doctored. Eh? What do you mean doctored? Like, were you putting it out as if you had been in that gunfight to a real Mexican
like I was in the
standoff?
movie or something? I guess. I guess I doctored myself into the Matrix.
Hey, this
film.
is doctored.
Mr. Hinkle solicits donations and sells merchandise
To support his independent, look at the quotes.
to support his independent journalism on platforms like, well, that's exactly, why do they put it in quotes? First of all, that's the same smear they used at me, that Sean guy used on me. Jimmy Dore sells t-shirts. You mean
Yep,
like
I remember
every
that.
fucking show on YouTube in the world?
You know, if you don't show your goddamn face, by the way, in your thing, go fuck yourself.
I agree with
if
you
it comes to
100%.
you, like,
Guess who sells t-shirts and bags and merchandise?
Can I guess?
The New York Times.
Oh, that's
who
what
would buy that? I mean, I'd rather have a, even if you had like an NPR tote bag that could have some ironic, humorous value. But what, New York Times merchandise? If you don't work there, why would you have that?
So what's interesting is they said that he does this on platforms like Patreon, having already been barred from PayPal and Venmo. Well, this was a signal to Patreon to ban him, and they did.
Oh,
Yep.
thank God.
Banned me within 24 hours, and I sent a very nasty text to Stephen Lee Myers after that one.
And did he respond?
Of course not. He's a coward.
In the interview, Mr. Hinkle emphasized that he did not accept any payments from foreign governments, but he spoke unapologetically about his support for and from often hostile foreign powers. Hostile to who? He visited Russia and China this year at the invitation of, you know who's hostile to Russia and China? NATO. Guess who's not hostile to American people? Russia and China.
Hey, you know who's hostile to American people? Israel, it turns out.
Israel, yes. He visited Russia and China this year at the invitation of organizations close to the governments, dining with Russia's foreign minister and appearing on state-controlled television networks. Well, why don't you go on billionaire-controlled television networks?
What are you, independent media?
I think they appreciate support wherever they can get it, he said.
Why don't you take some APAC money?
Yeah. Today, he says he is a Stalinist and a Maoist who was expelled from the Communist Party of the United States. Roberta Wood, a party leader in Chicago, said that Jackson subscribed to the newsletter, but had never joined the party and did not reflect its values.
You're not even a real communist? You piece of shit.
So he's not even a real communist, according to the New York Times. He once supported Bernie Sanders, but now praises former President Donald J. Trump.
Where's your authenticity?
He wrote last year, quote, an American patriot, God-fearing, pro-family, Marxist-Leninist, pro-Palestine, Russia and China, anti-deep state, anti-imperialist, anti-woke, pro-growth, anti-monopoly, pro-gun, pro-fossil fuel. Again, this is supposed to be a smear piece. These are all things this had to get you more followers.
I never knew my shit post would be published in the New York Times, but here we are.
This is awesome. And an international pivot. This is the subhead. An international pivot. As Mr. Hinkle's focus settled on international affairs, his audiences grew. Chagrin. He supported authoritarian leaders like Bashar al-Assad. You mean the guy who was being the CIA tried to overthrow in an illegal war, that the CIA, the United States military, got in bed with ISIS and Al-Qaeda to try to overthrow?
Hey,
you mean that Bashar al-Assad?
You know who else calls Assad a hero? All the Syrians I've ever met in my life.
Like
6 or 7. Every single one of them. Every single one of them.
When Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, he embraced Mr. Putin's rationale for the conflict. You know why? Because it made sense.
I embrace that as well, that rationale.
I embrace that rationale as well. Mr. Hinkle has become a merchant of rage.
Oh, what if you sold missiles and drones? That would make you a better person.
Did you okay the cluster bombs that the United States is now sending? No, you didn't. Not that kind of rage. Okay. Mr. Hinkle has become a merchant of rage, said Pekka Kalabili, who researches social media and disinformation at Tampere University in Finland.
Oh, that's why she's got an elf name.
No kidding.
Fuck you, Peckerhead.
She researches social media and imagine your life.
Wait, we do that. Everyone who goes on does that. Who goes on social media?
Everybody who goes
and talks. We're all researching it by looking at it.
That
a university in Finland.
The way he moves on from one thing to another, it seems very opportunistic to me. Oh, but it's not opportunistic to get paid to be a researcher of social media and disinformation, which is not a thing. That's just something you all made up.
Pekka is a mister?
Anybody? Is that? Yeah. Oh, it's a mister.
Pekka is a guy.
Oh, I thought that was a lady name.
Well...
Pick a lot. Talk a little more. In the interview, Mr. Hinkle shrugged off the findings of inauthentic support for his account. There's always going to be bots on social media, he said. He acknowledged that he has made mistakes in some posts, but said they weren't intentional. And he argued that the scale of Israel's retaliation in Gaza vindicated his view of the conflict. Of course it does.
What the fuck?
Even Condoleezza Rice advisors are on Jackson's side now.
Democrats are going to his side because they're losing because of this.
That's right.
How's the New York Times not on board?
I don't understand this.
Aren't they more worried about Trump?
This is the most counterproductive shit smearing of the New York Times ever did.
They must be getting.
So they must have got money from a Jewish organization to do this. AIPAC probably gave them money to do this, right?
Because MSNBC's like, you could see who's like, hey, screw you, you're costing us more than we were prepared to give for this.
So there's some Zionist, I wouldn't say Jewish, I would say a Zionist organization, not Jewish. I think if we're going to focus on people who are putting out false information and incorrect Twitter photo, it's not the biggest deal in comparison to the lies that are used to sell a war. Well, at least they put that in there.
Do they like you or hate you?
Sounds like they like you now.
I actually didn't read that part. That's interesting.
That's
the first time I saw that.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's a nice quote.
That's a good quote.
Yeah. Mr. Hinkle spoke admiringly of Tucker Carlson.
So do I.
So do I. I mean, the only guy doing real journalism, that so much so that he got fired. You don't get fired for lying in corporate journalism. You get fired for telling the truth. And that's why Tucker Carlson got fired. The former Fox News host who has peddled pro-Russian narrative. The words
if I could get paid to do that, I would do it.
Did he pocket any cash for peddling?
97%, I heard.
I would. Oh, my. And Candace Owens, a conservative commentator who left Daily Wire's website last month. Mr. Hinkle, who said he had turned down a job offer from a foreign media outlet that he declined to disclose, compared himself to Mr. Carlson and Ms. Owens. We're all independent, not by choice. You know, of course, I'd be happy if there was any media outlet in the United States that wanted to hire someone like me, he said, but our values don't align, so I don't think that's in my future. This has turned into a glowing puff piece for you. This is unbelievable. By the way, so right underneath this article, this is what's under there. Our coverage of the Israeli-Hamas war. That's right underneath the article. And then they give you all their headlines. Within moments of Israel and its allies shooting down a fuselage of Iranian missiles and drones, many began wondering what the exchange would mean for the war. Click here. Click here. Pay us money and click here. The next thing, the disappearance of death of an Israeli teenager whose body was found in the West Bank. Are they trying to pocket money off the death of a teenager found in the West? They're trying to pocket that money.
How much? What percentage?
They're peddling outrage over this.
They're peddling it out. Well, I don't know what they're peddling about.
For months, Western governments have sent weapons to Israel while fending off accusations of abetting war crimes in Gaza. But as an outcry over the civilian death toll mounts, maintaining that balance is becoming... Again, this is the worst smear piece ever. This is what they're agreeing with you. Their newspaper has now come around. It's gotten so horrific in Gaza that the newspaper is agreeing with you, and they're making money off of it.
Yeah, here's a tip to the newspaper. When you write, see how it says right there, rioting rage over Israel. A surge that some researchers say is aided by inauthentic accounts by the online celebrity. As soon as you say some researchers say, that means nothing. You might as well stop doing that. Who would take that seriously?
I guess I was when he was doing the interview, he very, very briefly mentioned these reports that were done by these Israeli firms, and I was like, "Can I see the reports?" And he's like, oh, I can't share them yet because I guess it wasn't published yet. So he couldn't show me what they were saying. Yeah.
He had them already, but is he part of making those reports? Why would he have access to that?
It was to be published alongside the story, I guess. So I said, well, that's very odd. I mean, I can't really comment on that if I haven't seen the reports about these alleged bot accounts, right? So the story comes out, and of course they don't link to the report and the article. They just kind of weirdly mention it in a few sentences, but they don't actually add any details about what the report found, the sourcing and methoding of the report. The report looked at 12,000 accounts on Twitter from October of 2023. So this was, months ago. And they were 12,000 pro-Palestine accounts, and they weren't following me. These are just random 12,000 accounts that are on Twitter putting out pro-Palestine stuff. And they said, according to their sources and methods, that 40% of those accounts may have been inauthentic or bots. And they said because of that, that means that Jackson Hinkle has 40% fake accounts. And I'm like, well, that none of that even adds up. But even if you're going to take that argument and credit all of that, doesn't that still mean I have 1.7 million real followers, which is more than all the New York Times journalists combined?
Yes, that is what that means. And speaking of, here's the people who wrote this article. Here's Stephen Lee Myers and Tiffany Hsu.
Yeah, misinformation reporter Tiffany Hsu, which is
misinformation reporter Tiffany
bullshit. And then this guy's a Putin. His whole thing is writing about how Putin came.
So you want to know the article this guy wrote today?
Yeah.
So Stephen Lee Myers co-authored this New York Times piece bemoaning the fact that today's ruling will curtail the government's efforts to fight what it deems to be disinformation in his current profile. So what he's on board of surveilling Americans without a warrant.
So he's not a real reporter.
That's what that says.
So he's some puppet.
So he's not a real reporter, but he said in his current profile pic, he's wearing a blue surgical mask.
Nice.
You want to see it? Here it is. That's him.
Nice.
That's him.
Yeah.
Stephen Lee Myers. That's him.
Why even bot? Okay, look, if you're the kind of punk who would still wear a mask, especially that mask, he probably hasn't changed it. Why would you ever have had a picture of yourself up with a mask?
With a mask.
At all as your profile? I don't
not even a good picture.
Like, he on purpose did that at some point. He probably hasn't changed it. But why? What's the point of your profile with you in a mask?
With you in a mask. No one can even see what you look like. You're wearing a mask.
You want to show that you wear a mask, you punk.
That's what that is. That's called virtue signaling.
Well,
anyway, well done, Jackson. That went from a smear piece into a puff piece real quick because it turns out the New York Times agrees with your stance on Gaza now.
I guess so. I don't know. It's still a badge of honor to be attacked by them and stuff. And it's this is just how they operate. They attack truth tellers, and they've come after you. They come after me and stuff. And this is just how they operate.
No doubt. Anybody who the people who still think the New York Times and the Washington Post are real news are. It's
if they do, they agree with you now. If they do, they agree with Jackson now. They're all saying the thing everyone has been saying here, and he's been saying for 3 years.
So it's like Noam Chomsky said. He said the news is in there, but you got to look at it sideways. The way they frame everything is incorrect, and you got to look at it this way and shake it, and then the news. You got to get to the news.
That's what the editor does.
They try to hide it, and they use words like peddle and pocket, and he's making money off outrage.
This is neoliberals that love a free market that all of a sudden don't like peddling and pocketing.
And as they try to build up outrage over social media personalities, they condemn them for using outrage.
I'm literally I just have a Twitter. That's all I have left now. I've been banned from literally everything besides Twitter. I'm not a racist. I'm not a Nazi, any of this stuff. And this is all I have left, and they attack me this hard. Imagine if you had done what you were thinking of doing, running for president.
Imagine.
Look at RFK Jr. He's a full-blown Zionist, and they still attack him. And Donald Trump apparently offered him vice presidency. He rejected it. But imagine what they would have done to you had you done that, because the only reason why RFK Jr. is not as he's very successful, but the only reason why he's not as successful as he could be is because of his positions on Israel. And imagine if you had done it.
they would have immediately taken my channel away. They would have immediately got me. Well, I'm pretty much kicked off Facebook as it is. They put a flag on every one of our videos. We're demonetized. We can't make money off it. They don't let us have any circulation on Facebook. My people who I've known for 30 years in Hollywood, because of Facebook, think I'm some kind of crazy conspiracy theorist because they would put tags on all our videos debunking the narrative around COVID. And we were right. Of course, we were right when it came to Syria. We were right when it came to Ukraine. We were right when it came to COVID. All things COVID. There was nothing I got wrong about COVID. Everything we were right about. We were right about masks. We were right about the origin of the virus. We were right about herd immunity, natural immunity, the transmission, contraction, the efficacy of the vaccine. We were right about everything. Fauci lying, Collins lying. We were right about all of it. But my friends who go on Facebook, because Facebook tags it with "this is misinformation," they think that I'm out. They think I am what the New York Times is trying to make you look like right now. Some kind of some grifter who's out there lying and pushing buttons to try, instead of actually what I'm doing is debunking the bullshit establishment narrative, which is what you do also.
I think just like everyone no longer trusts the mainstream media in America, I think we're moving into an era where no one is going to trust those community notes and the fact check stuff, because I mean, that happened with, and they never correct, they never remove the community notes. They never, when people are proven right. Just yesterday, I did an interview with Maria Zakharova, the Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman, and the interview occurred before the Moscow terrorist attack. In the interview, she said Zelensky's responsible for all these terrorist attacks in Russia, and it was published the day before the terrorist attack. And I got a community note on that interview yesterday, and the community note said, there's no evidence that Zelensky was behind the terrorist attack in Moscow. And I had to correct them. I subtweeted, and I'm like, no, she's referring to all the other terrorist attacks that Zelensky has already admitted to that have occurred in Russia. Like, no one believes this stuff anymore because the lies are they're so obvious.
They said remember the guy's daughter got blown up, that guy they called Putin's brain?
Yeah.
And the Ukraine blew up a cafe with a bunch of Russians in it. The regular media was talking about that openly, like it was a great thing Ukraine did.
So that's
New York Times too. They admitted. So
why are they pretending they don't do terror attacks now? So,
what do you think about that? Elon Musk still thinks community notes is worthwhile venture. Isn't that weird? Does he have to pretend that is? So that's his way to
yes.
kind of get advertisers to feel okay about advertising. Look, we have community notes. We correct this information.
Yeah, I don't know. People get upset when I talk about Elon Musk because I think it's easy to outrage over anybody. And obviously, he's done terrible things. He has views that are pretty terrible. But every once in a while, you see him post something that is so truthful and so based. And it's like, there's no way he actually believes all this Zionist stuff. Like the post he did about Iran surrounded by U.S. military bases. And he said that Israel is the best recruiter for Hamas. I think he secretly does probably agree with us on not everything, but maybe some things. But he has to play this this character, acting like he cares about all this stuff to maintain the sanctity of his business.
I think you're correct.
Plus, he probably didn't know a lot of shit. The way I didn't know a lot of shit. I'm surprised people, the more successful they are, they don't know anything. Like, it's amazing to me. People I would think would know a bunch of stuff, know nothing.
Well, I think him getting vaccine injured was a big turning point for him, probably. Yeah. And the fact that he's a defense contractor, I think he actually does know what's going on in Ukraine. And now he certainly knows what's going on in Gaza. And for him to tweet that. So I think he has, I don't want to say he's woke. I want to say he woke up.
But he still has to play the character.
But he has to play that game. That's what community notes are there. So he can point to advertisers saying, well, no, we don't censor them, but we do correct it. And yeah, that's all that is. And community notes are, I have a segment I forgot I haven't done on community notes, which I have ready to go, which this makes me want to do it, about how community notes have been taken over. Of course, they figured out how to get people. By the way, I got an invitation to become a community noter.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they go, do you want to be a community notary? I go, fuck yeah. But I haven't heard anything else. And they just approved my Twitter account, so now I can get subscribers. Did you know that?
Oh, I'll subscribe to you. I didn't see that yet.
I have 1 subscriber so far. But I haven't put out any protected content because I didn't know I could do it yet. So now we're available to start picking up. I'm going to pocket $3 a month when I peddle my information. I'm here to talk about one of my favorite products, Cozy Earth products. We got their sheets. They're amazing. They're made of, they're not made of bamboo per se. They're made of viscose from bamboo. And they're temperature regulating. They're the softest sheets we've ever had. We've had other sheets before that were bamboo. Steph didn't like them. But these are our favorite sheets. I'm sleeping on them right now. And they have guarantee. Anyway, well, here's the script that they want me to say. A recent survey found that 7 to 10 parents get an average of 3 hours of sleep a night in their baby's first year. Mothers, you deserve quality sleep, and I know just how. Cozy Earth. Discover the secret to better sleep with Cozy Earth's luxurious bedding products. And here's an exclusive. Oh, we have a Mother's Day offer. That's why they're talking about this. If you use the code Jimmy, you get 35% off at CozyEarth.com. So go to CozyEarth.com, use the code Jimmy, you get 35% off. Cozy Earth bedding products are crafted with temperature regulating technology. I already told you that. Adapting to your body's needs through all phases of motherhood. They use only the very best fabrics, materials, and weaves, offering superior softness that invites you to sink into a world of comfort. Worried about commitment? Well, you don't have to, because Cozy Earth stands by the quality and longevity of its product. You get a 100-night sleep trial. That's mental.
I've never heard of that.
And you get a 10-year warranty on all your purchases, built to last through the hardest days and the longest nights of motherhood. Incorporating Cozy Earth products into your self-care routine can enhance the quality of overall wellness. This Mother's Day, treat your mom to the luxury she deserves with Cozy Earth bedding and sleepwear, and prioritize her self-care. Head over to CozyEarth.com. Use promo code Jimmy. Get 35% off. After placing your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. Like the Jimmy Dore Show. Yeah. Thank you. Enjoy Cozy Earth. Come see us on tour. We're going to be in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, Cortland, New York, Oakmont, Pennsylvania, El Paso, Texas, San Antonio, Texas, Vancouver, British Columbia. First show sold out. Denver, Colorado, Ashland, Virginia, Athens, Georgia, and Minneapolis. We're coming back to Minneapolis. If you couldn't get tickets last time, there'll be some available this time. We're doing 2 shows. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets.